You might be wondering, what's this guy doing in the middle of a cornfield on a Sunday morning in central Pennsylvania? Well, I'm here to introduce this week's Pennsylvania School Safety Hour. Susie Snellick and Mike McGrady aren't able to make it this week. And a cornfield seemed like a pretty good place to start talking about finding your way, because I can tell you, having walked out here, it's very difficult to know where in the heck I am in this cornfield at this point. And that's the way it is with wayfinding. Wayfinding in schools. Today we're going to visit Wellsboro High School, and we're going to talk to some people who actually created a wayfinding system that integrates with 911 in that community. In fact, in all of Tioga County. So join us today on the Pennsylvania School Safety Hour. Now, most people aren't standing in the middle of a cornfield on a Sunday morning, but I am. I'm Eric Porterfield, executive producer of the Pennsylvania School Safety Hour. You know, being in the middle of a cornfield is beautiful, but at the same time, it reminds me of a young girl who survived an active shooter incident about 4 years ago. She described it as being something like being in a cornfield in the middle of the night and trying to find your way. Every step that she took, she wasn't quite sure where she was headed. Now imagine the emergency response teams. They've got a responsibility to get to this young girl. But being in the middle of a cornfield in the middle of the night would be hard work. That's why we've invited two people who know quite a bit about wayfinding and emergency wayfinding in school. Rick Capozzi of ELS 911 and Jim Bodine, the former chief of police for Wellsboro, Pennsylvania Police Department, are joining us here this morning, and we're going to visit with them now.
We're here with Jim Bodine, the former chief. Chief, tell us how you got things started here.
This all started back 2002 era when we unfortunately had an incident in one of our schools, and from there progressed with a lot of the safety issues, measures that were being put in place. So the emergency labeling system came into play in that era, to where we wanted to standardize all of our facilities, all of our schools, so all of the law enforcement, EMS, fire, everybody was on the same page, and that's how it came about.
So tell us a little bit about how you made it happen, how's it coordinated, etc.
Okay, the coordination's through emergency management. Everybody's on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
We knew that in responding to any kind of an incident within the schools, in the school district, we needed a way for all disciplines to be on the same page. So the emergency labeling system came into play, and it's very simplistic. I could sit down with somebody in 5 minutes from another agency in another state and say, this is the way it's set up, and you could tell them, respond to entrance C at such and such an address, and they can come right to that door. There's no second guessing. Every second counts.
And every second does count. We hear that oftentimes from emergency responders. When you first rolled this out, were there challenges that you ran into?
There was a few challenges, but nothing that we couldn't overcome. The number one thing is the different colors of the labeling, to make sure that everybody was using the same colors. They were placed in the correct positions at the doors, both inside and out. The hallways, the interior, as you'll see, are all numbered. The outside are alphabetical. So there was some challenges with the different hallways and the structure inside the school that we had to overcome, but at day's end we came up with a really good solid way of addressing and labeling the different buildings.
Okay, and one of the questions people will sometimes ask is, how far deep did you go on sharing the information with the people in the building? So, like any of your key people that might be calling 911, they're all up to speed?
Every single teacher, faculty member in this school district know this labeling system. When we train within the school district, in the buildings, we try to do that very frequently. We want them to call out to the communication center and tell us exactly where they're at, where they're hearing the different sounds and what they're seeing, and they have to know, hey, it's in hallway 1. If we saw whoever it may be come through entrance D, and so they're reporting that back to us, and that information is getting put out, broadcast through all the disciplines, so everybody knows exactly. If it's entrance D, they know exactly what they're coming up against.
Jim, can we take a look inside?
Absolutely.
So what happens as we approach the door here?
All school districts now have a keypad. They can see you. You have to push a button and let them know that you're here, and they won't let you in until they see us and they can identify what's going on.
Now they're just messing with us.
And in we go.
Thank you.
Okay, as you can see, when we walk in, you're immediately seeing the number 1. That's telling us hallway 1. What this is for, anybody, students, faculty, they know this is hallway 1 here, and it's easily identifiable. And they will immediately tell us that. If we have an incident in the school, say God forbid, somebody with a medical emergency, the first thing EMS, the dispatchers are going to be asking, look around, tell me, find the blue number, find the blue placard. And if they just tell us that, we know immediately where they're at.
Gotcha. And I noticed that it's not just on this side, it's also on this side as well.
Yes, both sides of the hallway will be labeled. So either way, whichever way you're coming, you can immediately see that. And anybody with the simple training that we do with all the faculty in here, that's exactly what we're telling them to look for, both sides, and it's easily identifiable, very simplistic.
The other thing I noticed when we came through the door and the sunlight came in and hit, that's reflective material on there?
These are supposed to be reflective both inside and out. So at nighttime or low light conditions, if the lights are off, anybody that's coming in here,
or even thick smoke?
Right, they'll be able to find them.
Excellent.
So as we transition down here, as you'll see, we're still in hallway number 1, but as we transition, we're going to hallway number 2 now. Okay, so hallway number 2 comes into play, and this is how it's all labeled out on blueprints.
So for instance, if we had a medical emergency down this hallway and responders are going to come in door A, tell us, what does that sound like when you call it in?
Okay, what faculty will do is wherever the incident is in the building, they're going to get us to the nearest door. Okay, as you see, entrance A is all the way down there, but entrance, I don't know the exact one that's down there at this point, but we may send them in that door because it's closer to the incident. You'll come in through entrance, say C, they're going to come to hallway 2, and they come right to where they need to be, instead of sending them all the way through the facility.
So you reference response tactics, we think about response times, and oftentimes people think about response times from dispatch till they get to the building. Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of getting from the address to the point of incident.
Okay, when it's going out over the radio, when they're starting to dispatch everybody, you have everybody coming to the facility from a command post aspect. We're going to be setting up at some area on the exterior. We'll start coordinating to say, your entrance D. We need everybody to start mustering entrance D because medical emergencies are a completely different tactic than an active shooter. Right. In today's world. Active shooter, we're trying to isolate, pin down the assailant, whatever's happening in here. So from a command post aspect, we're starting to think, how can we get the groups around that incident and start closing in on it. We want to keep it from moving anywhere within the facility. So they'll start calling out entrance D, hallway 2, get me a group here, and that's how we start coordinating it to isolate where the incident is. Is that what we're...
Yes,
okay.
yes. And so running with that, let's blend those two. You've got a rapid mass casualty incident. You create a casualty collection point.
Correct.
And you know that your threat is in a different part of the building. Talk a little bit about that.
Now you're starting to work into what we call a warm zone. Okay, EMS, we work with them for the warm zone tactics. As long as it's safe to do so, we'll have a group of law enforcement that will surround the EMS, start getting the casualties out of the building while again we're pinning down the threat. Okay, as long as we have enough people in here, enough boots on the ground is what we call it, to pin down the threat, we're going to get the casualties out as quick as we can to the medical facility while still working at getting that pinned down and taken care of.
Okay, let's change to fire. We've got a fire type incident. We run fire drills all the time. People tend to go through the ritual of always following the same route. Let's say that a route is obstructed. Any thoughts or comments relative to that?
If a fire breaks out and there's folks unfortunately that are pinned down in one area like that, this emergency labeling system, that's where it comes into play. We're saying no. Hallway number 3 right now is a no-go. We have an issue down there. Everybody start evacuating hallway 2, get down to 1, or we may send them out a different exit, out the side door. And that's where we're calling out to the folks on the outside to say, hey, entrance C, we've got a lot of people heading for that right now. Get me people down there, start taking people out that door. Hallway 3 is where the problem is. And in fire and themselves, the fire chiefs, when they start responding, they know immediately what they need to attack, or where they need to get to, and get their equipment in here.
Northern Pennsylvania Regional College offers a flexible, accessible, and affordable education across 10 counties and 24 locations. NPRC inspires and serves local residents and businesses through associate degrees and workforce training, making education affordable and attainable for students ready to invest in themselves. Learn more today about Northern Pennsylvania Regional College. Brighter futures begin here.
Scott Henry created the ELS 911 system almost 20 years ago. It's now throughout Tioga County, and it's helping first responders get to the location and the incident more quickly.
With me is Scott Henry. Scott Henry's been an intricate part of this emergency labeling system that we have throughout the district for many years now. Scott and I have trained for many years in these facilities, and every year we're always improving upon that. Am I correct in saying that?
You are. You are. We've had the opportunity over those years to be involved in, I feel, hundreds of trainings and frankly thousands of hours as it applies in various areas. When we talk strictly the emergency labeling system, I mean, we're here in the heartbeat of what was created back in the mid-2000s for our first responders as it applied to critical incidents. Specifically at that time, we were thinking active assailant, active shooter. But what we've learned over the years is that the system is so applicable to so many different things as it applies to public safety. And I think the continuity of operations as it applies to whether it's a school or the other locations that we've labeled over the years. I mean, here's an example with Wellsboro Area School District, in that, you have multiple buildings as far as the district is concerned. They're all specifically labeled and identified, and that applies to their respective maps and CAD systems and the visual imagery that applies to that. So whether it's county emergency management or communications, or certainly the Wellsboro Borough Police Department, or fire and EMS, they're all operating on this system in the event a critical incident occurs. And back to continuity of operations, and what we've seen over the years is, thank goodness, after we implemented the system those many years ago, of which unfortunately, we had 2 serious incidents within, at the time I was with the state police, the troop, one being here in Wellsboro, involving our schools. Since then, thank goodness, we have not in that respective area, but we've had, our EMS and our fire related issues. And the systems worked very well. In addition to the locations, just the normal continuity of operations, whether it's the movement of the students, the staff, etc. We need a student, for example, at hallways 3 and 4. We need a parent to meet us at entrance D. It's all applicable as far as maintaining the continuity of the respective locations' operations.
We always think too, as well, critical incidents, but this labeling system has also been used by the school district for just their events alone. If they're having, their football team, hey, we want you to use entrance C instead of D today because of whatever it may be, they also use it just for their normal day operations as well. So it works holistically all the way around. Holistically
is a great word, Jimmy, and it just enhances in so many ways, and that's, I think, so appreciated too from the locations and the staffs thereof. And it's a simple system. It's a simple system
Very
to implement.
Simplistic.
It's a simple system to learn, and it's a simple system to utilize.
When every second counts. When every second counts, it shaves those seconds off, and it's where we need to be in today's world.
I agree. Excuse me, I agree.
Well, Scott, as we started, the basic thing that we started with back in the day was what we call the Knox box for entry into the building, which transitioned into the labeling system. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I know that much discussion, certainly those many years ago, as to, and there is value to the Knox box, and I do not mean to negate that in any form or fashion. Where I feel strong with the emergency labeling wayfinding system is that it provides the necessary information, such as the labeling on the doors, the hallways, etc., the upgrade in the maps of the respective location with the visual imagery. All of that, upon completion of the implementation of the system, is maintained within the cruisers. It's maintained within 911 and emergency management. It is all there available at the fingertips versus of the first responder emergency management versus, okay, if we have an active shooter and we need that information, thus, as if I'm first on scene, I've got to access the Knox box. Again, back to your earlier comments about every second counts. We're negating having to do that. We're negating having to put ourselves in a position that could bring potential harm trying to access the Knox box, because again, we already have it in the cruisers. We already the maps, the photographs, etc., that we can utilize immediately. But back to the labeling itself, knowing that system, which takes 5 minutes, is going to then, as you know, Jim, permit us to get where we need to be within the school and the location itself.
And responding agencies from the outside as well.
Exactly.
They could be counties, I was just saying, counties away. As long as, 5 minutes with them, they know the system, they know exactly where they're going and, how to navigate.
It is so important, not only from an individual agency standpoint, but from a multi-agency standpoint. Again, it takes 5 minutes to teach everybody up on this. Having the ability, then, that knowledge that if you're chief of police, you're in charge of the scene, how you can use then the labeling system that's already, again, within your cruiser's IT and such, and 911, how you can use that information to locate or relocate your assets as they arrive, if they understand the system. Say you need, for example, somebody at A entrance and they come in and it's Z. Okay, well, it's a left to right system. It's easy to comprehend in which way they then need to go to come to the location you specifically identify as on-scene commander for them to be at. It's so fluid that we have seen once the system is implemented and integrated into a location's staff, emergency management system, etc.
And you hit the nail on the head there when you said it has to be standardized. The placement of the lettering, the placement of the numbers, we need them in a certain placement. So we're not looking all over the place for them. They're right at the doors. You're ready to go.
Exactly, and we fine-tuned that over the years, you know,
And continue to do so.
and continue. It's always evolving, but back to standardization, which I think is so important. I mean, there are locations, okay, they number their doors. They don't alpha, letter their doors. The problem that I see is if we don't have a standardized system, if this school does numbers on their outside and that school does letters on their entrances, well, again, where's the continuity from a multi-agency or first responder? I was at a school, a police department a few days ago that have two schools in their jurisdiction, but yet they would respond to another school within the same school district that's in another police department's jurisdiction. If they don't have a standardized system, then they're talking different lingo, which thus creates confusion, and then is going to impact that time that you have mentioned so properly. More time equates to more problems. And so I guess my point to this is if locations, they need to be all on the same page with the system that they would utilize. We like the system that we've created here in Tioga County, which in turn has spread to some of our neighboring counties. It is the same thing, whether it's the schools, the hospitals, the courthouses, etc. And it's that everybody knows that.
Right. It takes all the confusion out with the responding agencies. I felt back in the day too, you get keyed up, you're going to a critical incident within one of these schools, facilities, and just knowing, hey, I've got to go to entrance C, that's where I'm supposed to be. It takes some of that stress level away. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm right there. I'm going to be part of the taking care of a solution to the problem.
And I agree, because this type of situation does create in itself, just hearing that call, and I speak from experience, you get stressed. And what I like about this system, let's use letter A here, that's a 6x9. That's the standard, again, that we created, a 6x9, from a metal standpoint, a template. People would say, well, that's not that big. Well, once we know the system, what I have learned, and I know you, Jim, is that as you come into these locations in the event of a critical incident, we're looking for these things, they stand out, is my point. We've got a lot of responsibility. You're behind the wheel, you're answering the radio, etc. And you look, what you're looking for, they stand out.
See, we're standing at A here, but let's say this was entrance C. I know as a responding, all I have to do is go counterclockwise to get to entrance A. It's fluid. You know exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yep, using this main entrance as the alpha indicator,
right.
The A indicator. If we look across the street to the high school, there's D. Their entrance, of course, their main entrance is down below. It operates off that principle and left to right. So simple.
I mean, you can transition into the outside world, say not a school, a police department, a hospital, just to a standard factory setting in itself, with your shipments coming in, albeit, your tractor trailers. You can tell them, no, come to entrance E. That's our dock E, that's where we need you. And they can utilize it that way, but at the same time have this in place for critical incidents as well. So I was telling them a little while ago here that, it's not only for critical incidents, it's for student activities and so forth. Football players, hey, we can't use entrance A today, you need to go to C. They know where they're going.
They know where they're going.
So they can use it interior as well to their benefit.
Well, in regards to the mapping portion of the system, once the labeling has occurred and is in place, and upon obtaining all the appropriate visual imagery, then the upgrade with a locations map, whether it be in a hard copy form or electronic form, has to be updated. So it's going to that enhanced map is going to indicate, the placement of the signs. It's A entrance, B entrance, hallway 1, 2, what stairway 1, 2. It's all going to be on that respective location map. Preferably, it's going to be in an electronic sense in which then that information, for example, County Emergency Management, County 911 is going to possess.
It's going to be on the computers within the cars, in the police cars, EMS. If they have that capability, they have the maps right at their fingertips.
Right at their fingertips, and if they don't have it, then it's easily, okay, county we're gonna text it to you, we're gonna send it to you via email, whatever the case may be. In the event, now the proper setup, as we both know, Jim, is that that's going to be all disseminated, all that information, once the system is in place to those important locations and first responder agencies.
So they're all uploaded, everybody in the agencies on the same page as well, and everything, again, at their fingertips. Every unit is set up with that.
Everybody's, and as you know, Jim, I mean, when first on scene is going to be the on-scene incident commander,
right,
until properly relieved. So you've been there both as, the initial first responder, you've been there as chief. So that is, and I think from a unified incident command, and again, back to the maps, it is so critical and so huge what that information provides those members of a unified incident command. I need water, I need EMS, wherever the location is, and bang, they can immediately communicate that.
Well, back to the unified command in itself, it's much more, when you have those other agencies from the outside coming in as you're responding in too, if they know the system too, it provides that sense of security to us as well. They know what they're going into, they know where they're going, and just a quick entrance D, entrance E, whatever it may be, we know they're going to go there. There's no confusion where they're coming into the incident command system, into the post, and saying, where do you want us? Just simple radio call, go to entrance E, and everybody is already moving there. Again,
everybody.
Time is critical.
And I think it's important to note too, when this system is integrated, you have to be proficient. You have to be continuous in the training side of it. I noticed that, Zach is here today, and with his protocol that he trains locations, integrating that into those training apparatuses and programs is critical. 2 weeks ago, for example, we were at Westfield Elementary conducting a drill. As Jim knows, he participated in that. And part of that training was utilization of our emergency labeling system. The staff made the calls in that training environment, which was a reality-based training drill, to Tioga County 911. In turn, the dispatchers had the appropriate opportunity to train and literally use their systems to call up, the CAD system, make the appropriate questions, etc., up to the point of dispatch. But by doing so, it maintains that proficiency from the staff and first responders that, by goodness, I need to know where entrance E is. My classroom's next to entrance F, etc., etc. If I have to evacuate and change a normal defined route, which they have to practice, monthly in a school environment, well, then the system can aid that correction or on-the-fly decision. So these are important things, I think, that need to be noted.
And through that training, the faculty, the staff, interior, I think it helps them stress level wise, knowing, they memorize this now, that when they're calling out on those trainings, they know exactly where they're at. And it's further enhancing the security interior. There's no confusion. I'm in hallway number 2, and my closest entrance egress is at C. Help. I need some help.
We know how. I speak as if I'm still doing it, so to speak. No longer within the first responder community, but we know where to go. Then we know how to get to those folks that are in need of help.
Northern Pennsylvania Regional College offers a flexible, accessible, and affordable education across 10 counties and 24 locations. NPRC inspires and serves local residents and businesses through associate degrees and workforce training, making education affordable and attainable for students ready to invest in themselves. Learn more today about Northern Pennsylvania Regional College. Brighter futures begin here.
Well, I'm here with Zach Pugh from Pugh Self-Protection and Combatives. He's from New York. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So my background is in self-protection training. So under the comprehensive plan, the education and training component for the people on site of the critical incident, that's where my specialty and expertise comes from.
And we're both involved with this whole process of emergency sign labeling. And just any general thoughts or ideas that you have about the whole process?
So when it comes to personal safety, not just, critical incidents related to active shooter events, the advantage of it's got to be a holistic approach. There is no just one answer. Obviously, there are answers that are more important than others that you should start with. The advantage of the ELS is, unfortunate advantage of it is, if you have it long enough, you will use it.
Right.
It's one of the few safety investments that you will use because it's not just related to an active shooter event. Natural disasters, man-made accidents, man-made intentional events, medical events, you will use it eventually. For example, with the schools here, I don't know of a school yet that you speak to how you ever called an ambulance here for a kid that had, an asthma attack or whatever. Yes. Okay, you're going to use that system telling the ambulance, hey, come here. It's not just for police, it's for anybody, whether it's the first responders or just the staff and students that use it maybe every day that say, hey, you need to go through this entrance or this is blocked off because we're painting or putting pesticide, whatever it may be. So that's what I really like about the ELS is because it is something you will use. The schools that invest in the bulletproof glass.
Maybe not. Fire extinguisher, maybe not. Good point.
The ELS you will use.
And you mentioned about faculty, staff, students, etc. From a confidence level, do you think it makes a difference that they feel better, feel more secure, feel less victim and more overcomer?
I'd say so because, you take somebody that doesn't have an ELS and you just say, hey, right now, wherever you are in, the school, describe the 911 where you are. Well, we're in gym science room. Okay, how do I get there? Well, you go through this. They have no way to really describe how to get there versus if you say, hey, take entrance C, we're in hallway 2, you're right there. It's so much easier for them to, one, boil it down to get 911 the correct information. And 911 isn't online with people that can't give them information, just trying to fumble through it. Okay, where's Jim? Who's Jim? Where is that? And it's just so much more effective and efficient. And I think that shows with their confidence, too. They can tell people where to get help.
Excellent. And I think you've mentioned before about what some of the bad threat actors are looking for. They're looking for vulnerabilities. Do you feel like even just from the outside, having the signage could influence that they're going to look and say, this is probably a building that's more buttoned up?
Yeah, I would say so. Because, you look at a lot of the, if you're going to relate it to active shooter, usually the assailant is affiliated with the location. So therefore, though, if they've been trained on this, they know that everybody else knows. They can tell people exactly where to get help. You might not be able to set up an ambush because they're going to say, the shooter's in hallway D versus just, well, he's in the building. Okay, where? And, they're ambushed around the corner. That's why I like the ELS because you really can't circumvent it. Same thing, with my training program. I try to do things that even if the assailant knows what it is, they can't use that to their benefit.
Exactly.
Where there are some protocols out there that can be used, bomb threats, fire alarms and stuff. If you know certain policy procedures, you can definitely exploit them and cause more casualties than what the systems are designed to try to minimize.
Last question. What causes people not to move forward with something like this? What slows them down?
I think one is it's unfortunately not, very well known. Everybody kind of has their own thing. They don't take into account, anything they've ever used the ELS for has probably been local first responders. It's never been, holy cow, we have an active shooter event. We're pulling people from 3-4 counties away that have never been to our facility. If we have a standardized system across the country where you can train all first responders, and because, everybody goes to public places, they start to understand and knows what it looks like. It's a no-brainer then, because it's like, okay, no matter where you go, if it's a place that's open to the public, workplace, factories, schools, hospitals, churches, if any of all those buildings have the same system, it's so much easier to navigate. It's so important to have people from the outside that understand this and know and are kind of, experts in the field versus just, hey, we need to have an emergency label that says, okay, slap some numbers on, and then you don't understand, okay, wait a minute. Not only is this done not very effectively, but now you're completely confusing, and the liability that could come with it. God forbid something happens, and now somebody points it out. Did you not realize these are completely opposite systems? How did you think this was going to be effective and efficient? And because, it delayed people 5, 10, 15 seconds, the audio shows that, X number of gunshots were fired during that time. You're liable for all that now.
Right.
Because it's
and the liability is a big issue, and this is a great way to reduce that factor.
I would say safety is number one priority, liability is 2.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Zach, it's always a pleasure getting together.
Northern Pennsylvania Regional College offers a flexible, accessible, and affordable education across 10 counties and 24 locations. NPRC inspires and serves local residents and businesses through associate degrees and workforce training, making education affordable and attainable for students ready to invest in themselves. Learn more today about Northern Pennsylvania Regional College. Brighter futures begin here.
We just saw the bus go by us here, and it brought up a thought here with the busing system. How do we get to reunification points? How we get the students, evacuated out? There's reunifications that come into play here to where they're all preset as part of the plan. Those, it may be different areas, the hospital, churches, wherever the reunification is. We have to be able to talk to the bus system and let them know, hey, go to entrance C, entrance D. It's not going to be their primary pickup area. They may have to go to a completely obscure door to where we have to get students out onto that bus and get them out of here to a safe area, back to, again, a reunification point. So, they can pick those students up, and it's a process that's in place per the comprehensive plan that we have a complete audit of all the students. Everybody is accounted for. We have those numbers where parents can be notified to go to wherever they need to go to pick their student up. And it may be, the number of students in the school, it may not be all at one area. It may be different areas. So we have that all preset as under the comprehensive plan, to where just a simple text message, it goes out through the school district system, all parents, hey, if your last name begins with A through H, we need you to go here. I through what, and so forth. So the parents they're not confused. Of course, their stress level is going to be through the roof. We want to make sure it's fluid. We want them to, be part of the solution, go to where they need.
Fluidness also brings calm.
Calm.
And I think, and please comment, Jimmy, on the recovery phase of these critical incidents, how the system also aids so greatly in that.
Yeah.
Because we could, if we had a shooting at a location, we could be there for not only several hours, but up to several days.
Right, because in essence what it is a crime scene at that point. We can't have everybody back in the school. It's not, okay, it's over, everybody walk away. We have to get specialized people in there to recover evidence, to do their formal documentation of inside, so where it progresses into a court process, whatever it may be. But again, it's all part of the system. The comprehensive plan addresses all these issues. And what we're trying to do is minimize confusion. That's what it's all about. And that's part, with parents, I can understand your stress levels again go through the roof. We're trying to make it fluid to where you know that your student, your son, daughter, whoever it may be, you know where they're going. And you can go to that area, pick up your kid, and everybody's accounted for. And one of the incidents that we had here was, okay, there was a little confusion with the interior, but the mass rush of the parents coming into the school. Of course, their child is in that school and they're upset. They were massing into the school system. And that was a big issue. Now we can't get EMS. It was starting to hinder EMS responses, law enforcement response times, and everything else because of the number of people. Of course, they want their questions answered and they want their kid. And this is part of the comprehensive plan. Make it fluid. Parents will know that their child's going to be evacuated out of this area and it's going to be addressed where they can go to a certain area and pick that child up, knowing that we're accounting for every single person in this building.
I would add to Jimmy, not only picking their child up, but also for informational updates.
Right.
Because part of the planning process, of course, the district, law enforcement, et cetera, they're going to have that media representation that can give our public and our family members and parents the respective information that they so direly are seeking, and understandably so. That's again back to the planning process of the comprehensive plan. But the integration, back to we'll end with that. It all integrates. And it all comes back to you have to train and educate on a continuous basis the plan for it to operate appropriately and efficiently.
Right. And I can say every single time that our group goes in and we train with the different various facilities and everything, there's always room for improvement. We're always learning together, but I'll tell you, I think we're rock solid as far as the foundation of what we built here, and it just continues to grow. And harden a target is what we call it. We're making it more and more secure for the safety and security of everybody involved.
I agree.
Northern Pennsylvania Regional College offers a flexible, accessible, and affordable education across 10 counties and 24 locations. NPRC inspires and serves local residents and businesses through associate degrees and workforce training, making education affordable and attainable for students ready to invest in themselves. Learn more today about Northern Pennsylvania Regional College. Brighter futures begin here.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week of the Pennsylvania School Safety Hour. Come back in 2 weeks. Hopefully I'm out of this cornfield by then. Yeah.